Hi guys, and welcome to today's video. Those of you that are new to my channel, my name is Maria, and today finally I'm doing a video on the Beiges Water Fresh Blushes, and they've only just been released in the USA. Well, I'm hoping that they're going to be released. Last year they released 4 of these blushes, but only in Asia, and I was able to get my hands on 3 of them. So I've been able to use them since about late last year, and I absolutely love them. I think they are really beautiful. So those of you that are familiar with the Chanel Beiges, it's the Water Fresh tint, and I have this, know that it is just absolutely beautiful, and it's quite unique in how it has those micro droplets in it, and then you break it up, and then when you put it on your face, it just gives this beautiful evened out complexion, and it really is gorgeous. Now I understand that they're also going to be releasing this in more of a medium type of coverage as well, but I haven't been able to get my hands on that, but I'm hoping that that will be released in New Zealand at some time, because I'll definitely be picking that up. So this is the packaging of the blushes. I kept the original packaging, hoping that these would be released outside of Asia. So it's the typical Les Beiges packaging, and these have 15 mils of product, and they are made in France. And on the Chanel Asian website, the description of these blushes, it says, Chanel has created the first water fresh blush based on patented microfluidic technology. It's ultra lightweight moisturizing formula composed of 75% water and infused with micro droplets of pigment, provides an instant fresh feeling and non-stop comfort. It blends seamlessly with the skin for a sheer weightless finish and delivers a flushed cheek look, as if you spent a day in the great outdoors. A long-lasting, natural, healthy glow. A subtle, flushed complexion all day long. And at that time, there were 4 luminous shades, ranging from the lightest to the most intense for a custom finish. And the shades that were released in Asia were light peach, light pink, warm pink, and intense coral. So as I was saying, I picked up 3. The only one I didn't pick up was the light peach. I just wanted to see how intense that coral is. Now, as I said, I've had these for a while, so I've played with them for a while, so I know how they perform, and they really are beautiful. And they give off a lot more pigment than I thought they were going to. The lightest one, and from the name you'd probably guess that it is, and that is the light pink, but it still gives this beautiful flush of color that they talk about on the website, and it's just typical of the Chanel Les Beiges altogether. It is more of a sun-kissed type of look and very natural type of look as well. So the rest of the makeup that I've got on today, apart from the bronzer, everything else on my face is Chanel. So I will list that in the description box for you below, so you can take a look. The foundation is the No1 De Chanel Foundation, and although really isn't suited towards my oily skin in the summer, it's now the end of autumn, beginning of winter here in New Zealand, and this foundation is just beautiful. I think it gives a beautiful finish, and the powder that I put over the top, because I need to with my oilier skin, is the Chanel loose powder, and that's in the shade B30. So for this video, I'm going to put on my cheeks all the 3 different blushes. I'll put one shade on, and then I'll wash it off, reapply my foundation and my powder, and then go on to the next shade. And also with each shade, I'm going to put it on using different techniques. So the first one, I'll probably use something like the Beauty Blender, then I'll go on to a Sonia G brush, and then lastly I will apply the blush just using my fingers, so you can see how it works with each application. And this is what the packaging of these beautiful blushes look like, and it's exactly the same packaging as in the tint. It's just that there is less product. There's 30 mils in the tint and 15 mils in the blush. This blush here is light pink, And I'll just take the others out of the packet so you can take a look at those. So here's all three. This one is light pink, and in the middle is warm pink, and this one here is intense coral. And I don't know whether you can see, we can see the micro droplets inside these. So it works exactly the same, that you need to sort of break up those droplets first and then apply it to the cheek. When you first dispense the product onto the back of your hand, it looks quite watery and you think, oh, it doesn't have much pigment. But once you either use your fingers or a beauty blender or a brush to break up those droplets, then the pigment starts to show. So I will show you light pink. That is, as the word says, and it is the lightest of the three. Now you don't need much. I wouldn't even, for both cheeks, dispense one pump. I think you probably get far too much product. Maybe it might be enough with a shade like this, the light pink, but once you start getting to the warm pink and the intense coral, I think half a pump is plenty for both cheeks. So I'm just going to put about, and that probably nearly is a full pump. It's a bit hard to control. So this is what it looks like, and this is the light pink, and you can see how it is watery, and parts of it you can see the pigment and parts of it is still quite watery. So what I'm going to do is just use my finger and tap those droplets to release the pigment. And as I do that, the colour starts to show. And probably out of the three, this light pink is my favourite. I think it's really, really beautiful. It does give that just sort of like a sun-kissed look or just flushed look to the cheeks. And I think it's really, really lovely. So that is what light pink looks like once I've broken down all those droplets and the pigment is released. I think that is a beautiful colour, and to me it's just a really soft, true pink, and I think it is super flattering and I love it. And that's probably the last shade that I'm going to put on. So now I'm just going to put on the back of my hand. This one is warm pink. So here is warm pink, and that is the light pink. So the warm pink to me has a little bit of brown in it, and that is a really beautiful shade as well. But like I said, I'll probably finish off today with the light pink. So now I'm just going to dispense intense coral on my hand. And here is intense coral. So you can see that they do have quite a bit of pigment, and a lot more than I thought they were going to. So these are the three. This is light pink, this is warm pink, and this is intense coral. And also what I'll do is I'll swatch these on my arm, and I'll take a photo of them or a very short clip of them in natural light, and if I'm able to do that, I will put that to the left of me so you can take a look at them and see what they look like in natural light. So I'm going to start off with the shade warm pink, and I am going to do a full pump, and then I'm just going to tap it on the back of my hand, and that's what helps breaks up those micro droplets and releases the pigment. And then I'm just going to tap that on my cheek. Now I have used these blushes as I am today over powder. I've used them without powder, and they perform exactly the same way. And when you first start putting them on, they feel like the tint does. It has this really beautiful sort of cooling effect. And I think that they blend effortlessly, and to me it doesn't seem to matter what type of application I use, whether it's with the sponge or the brush, all three ways, and they just blend really, really beautifully. But you can see they give more pigment, well, they give more pigment than I thought they were going to. I thought they were going to be quite a bit more subtle, given that they are water-based, but I think they look really, really lovely. Very, very subtle, but you still can see that colour, and I think they are really, really pretty. So that is warm pink, and I think that is a lovely colour. And like I said, I'm pretty sure it's sort of got a bit of brown in it to give it that warmth, and I think this is a really lovely colour. And once you've put them on, they don't feel at all like a cream blush or even a liquid blush. They just have a completely different feeling, and they do dry down to, not to matte dry down, but they definitely dry down, but they still keep this really beautiful glow, and I think the formula is really, really lovely. So now I'm just going to wash this off, and then I'll put on Intense Coral. So I've got my foundation back on again, and again I've powdered over the top. But as I said, these blushes also work really beautifully without powder as well, and they don't disturb the makeup underneath. They are a really lovely formula. So now I'm going to go in with Intense Coral. So again, just with the pump on the back of my hand, and this time I'm going to use a Sonia G brush. This is one of her fusion brushes, and I've used this before to apply the Intense Coral and the other colors as well, and this is really lovely as well. So I've broken up the pigment, and again it just applies really, really beautifully, and you do get that really gorgeous cooling effect when you first put the blush on. It's really, really beautiful. And then usually once I've finished with the sponge, I did that, and whether you're using the brush or your fingertips, just what's left on the brush, I just sort of slightly dab around the nose as well, just to give that look that you've just sort of been out in the sun during the day, and I think it is really, really lovely. So that is Intense Coral. I love the shade too. I really like all three shades, and I've worn all three quite a few times. It's just that I really love the light pink one, although you may see it and think, well, it doesn't show that well, but I just love it. I just think it's a really beautiful soft pink, but the Intense Coral is beautiful as well. And just like the other one, this is now dried down. It dries down to, it feels like a velvety touch. That's how I would describe how it dries down, and this stays on the skin really beautifully as well. I think I've worn them probably around the 8 to 10 hour mark, and you still keep that flush of color that you first put on. So the longevity in these blushes is really good as well. So when I reapplied my foundation and I did powder over it again, I also this time put back on the bronzer that I had at the very beginning of this video. It's a Guerlain one, and as I said, I'll list everything that I've put on my face today in the description box below. It's just a very light bronzer, but this is going to be the final blush that I put on, and I want this to be my final look. So this one is light pink. So this one I'm going to just put on by tapping it with my fingertips. So I'm going to just, again, just put, it's nearly a pump. It's quite hard to sort of control the pump. And I'm just going to tap that with my fingers. And once all that pigment is showing, then I will just tap it onto my cheeks. So I find by using your fingers and just tapping the blush on, that is probably the method where you use the least amount of product, because a beauty blender and a brush, they do tend to soak up a bit of the product. So I'm just going to grab a little bit more from the back of my hand. I've got a lot on here. So this also layers really beautifully as well. So you can just take off little bits off the back of your hand and tap it onto your cheeks and just build up the colour to what you want. but I think it goes on really beautifully with your fingers. And this is probably my preferred method actually, is doing it with my fingers. But you can see that it blends out really, really easily, and I love this colour. It's just really subtle, a really beautiful pink. For me, it's almost the perfect pink shade. I think it's gorgeous. So again, just with the excess, there's not much more left now on the back of my hand. Just put some of my fingers and I'll just tap that around my nose area. I think it gives a really, really beautiful flushed look. So I've now taken my headband out, because if I don't, my hair just gets in the way when I put on makeup. So it has again dried down to that really velvet sort of finish, and it's not sticky in any way. So if my hair, if I was outside and it was a bit windy, it's not going to stick to my cheeks or anything like that. It really has a beautiful finish. Now, I have seen some photos of this on Instagram just recently as well, and it looks like there may be a couple more shades added to this collection. So I imagine that they've been really popular when they were released in Asia, and because of that popularity, then hopefully they're adding a couple more shades. I hope they do, and I hope I'm able to get them in New Zealand, because I will pick up a couple of more shades. I think this blush is really, really beautiful. So when I look at this blush in the monitor, I have a monitor just to the right of me here, you can hardly see this light pink. I could build it up even more if I wanted to, but I love that hint of colour and that just flushed look. I think it's really pretty, especially when I'm wearing sort of a more subtle eyeshadow and lipstick. I think altogether it is really, really beautiful, and I'm really pleased that I've had them for quite a few months, because I've been able to play around with them. I know how they work and how they last during the day, and I'm really impressed with them. I think the formula is unique. I think they are easy to apply, and even though you have to break up the pigment on the back of your hand first, there are no issues with that. It dries to a beautiful finish. It has that velvety finish, but still gives a really gorgeous glow. I think they are absolutely stunning. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you next time. Bye.